Puzzles are as interesting as they are challenging. Growing up, I became fascinated with collecting and solving different types of puzzles due to the challenge each one presents. But today, I want to share with you three of my favorite types of puzzles, from a little history to why I enjoy solving them. These puzzles consist of construction puzzles, pen and paper puzzles, and mechanical puzzles. Starting off with the type of puzzle that I solve least but spend most time solving, construction puzzles. They consist of 3D puzzles and the most iconic jigsaw puzzles, which were first known as dissection maps when they were invented in 1762 by a map engraver named John Spilsbury, who cut a map engraved on wood into pieces to teach geography, which was something people still use today. But I love these puzzles due to the fact that there's no specific instructions to them. You just open it up and start solving them. The only instruction you have is the end result that the box comes with, which is just a picture of the thing you're creating or a picture of the jigsaw that you're putting together. Except for 3D puzzles, which are more advanced, and you have to look up the instructions on how to put them together because it gets more difficult depending on how many pieces. But a puzzle that takes me minimal time, a lot of brain power, yet I solve it the most are pen and paper puzzles. And these include Sudoku puzzles, whose names come from Japan origin, crossword puzzles, which were created in 1920 by Arthur Wayne, and word search, which all of these puzzles became popular within publications of magazine and newspaper in 1979, which of course now they're more commonly seen as part of books on their own, or just online you can look them up and start solving them very easily without spending almost any money. But I love these puzzles because they require me to think a lot, especially Sudoku puzzles, where if you put one number in the wrong spot, you have to either restart or, if you're like me and writing a pen for some reason, just ruin the puzzle entirely. And as you can see, I love them the most because I have 2 full books of just Sudoku puzzles. And finally, my favorite puzzle of all time, mechanical puzzles. More specifically, Rubik's Cubes, and, well, their spin-offs, which aren't really cubes. Rubik's Cubes were invented in 1974 by a Hungarian architect named Erno Rubik, who created to teach his students about 3-dimensional spaces. And they were sold in the millions years later in 1981, where in fact some of them were. They were sold in millions years later. Matter of fact, some of you have more than likely heard, tried to solve, or even own your own version of the Rubik's Cube or their spin-offs. However, they are my favorite due to the variety of them and that there are multiple ways to solve them. There's not just one way to solve this certain cube. As I've seen, I would go out to places where some people occasionally would know how to solve a cube, and I would watch them, and it's very different to the way I solve my cubes. And even sometimes I would learn them on my own and find ways to solve it faster, which I like doing the most. And my favorite 2 of all the different types of Rubik's Cubes are the Mega Minx, which is not a cube, and this one, which is known as Axis Cube. But funny enough, most of these Rubik's Cubes are solved the same way as a 3x3, with just extra steps. And as you can see, I love Rubik's Cube the most, which is one I collect a lot of, which consists of the Mirror Cube or Alien Cube, the Twist Cube, the Mega Minx, the Axis Cube, and this other cube that I do not know the name of, but it also doesn't really represent much of a cube when you mix it up. And from time to time, I like finding different ways to solve the Rubik's Cube. And that's from time to time I like solving different types of Rubik's Cubes and learning different ways to solve them just to get my mind off of things and understand like there are more ways to solve one problem. But that is why I wanted to share these different types of puzzles with you, from the time-taking construction puzzles to the deep-thinking pen and paper puzzles to the simple yet confusing world of mechanical puzzles and Rubik's Cubes. This is why puzzles are as interesting as they are challenging.